it's Miss Bowen. I'm super excited about our art project for the week. It is a pop-up jungle for you to try. This project's got it all, man. It's got patterns, it's got colors, it's got 3D element, which means your project won't be one flat piece of paper. You're going to make lots of little pieces to assemble together so that your artwork jumps off the page and pops. That being said, though, you'll want to make sure you are paying extra close attention to what I'm saying and the pictures I'm showing you, because it could get a little bit tricky in some places, but just try your best, keep with it, and it's all right if yours looks a little bit different than mine. You're the artist, and you're going to make it work the way it works for you. When I'm putting together projects to make, I like to look at famous artists for inspiration or ideas to try. This week, I was looking at the artist Henri Rousseau. Henri Rousseau is a painter from the 1800s who lived in France. Here is your supply list for the project. You'll need at least one white piece of paper. You might want to have some extras on hand though in case you need extra paper. You'll need a pencil, scissors, glue or tape, and coloring supplies. Okay, our first step is going to be getting our papers set up and ready. The thing we want to pay attention to here is making sure that you keep these different pieces because every piece is going to be used. First, what I did was I folded the white paper in half. Then I added an up and down line or a vertical line off to the side of the paper. You can see in the picture I'm fitting about 4 fingers inside that space that I created when I drew the line. You'll cut on that line and you're going to keep that strip that you cut. So make sure you cut on the line and stay on the line so that you have it in one piece. Take that strip that you cut and you're going to cut that in half. You should still see the folded line on the strip and that'll tell you where to cut when you're aiming for the middle. You have created 3 different pieces of paper, a larger folded piece, and a strip that has been cut into 2 extra pieces. Using only 1/2 of that cut strip, we're going to make 2 sets of legs for your animal that goes in your pop-up jungle. Fold 1/2 of that cut strip, so the top half, if you look in the picture, in half. And draw 2 arched lines on that folded paper. A larger arch that rounds out the top corners, and a smaller arch that goes in the center at the bottom of your folded paper. That arch is about the size of your thumb. Keep your paper folded and cut on both arched lines. Because your paper was folded, you'll end up with 2 sets of legs even though you're only cutting once. Next, you're going to take the remaining half of the strip and create different sections. One section is for the body of your animal. The other section is for the head of your animal. The body should be a little bit thinner or skinnier than the legs that you cut. The head is about the same width of the legs that you cut. And then you will have a scrap piece. So what I've done is I've drawn straight lines to create the different sections, the body and the head, and I cut on them. And that gives me a leftover scrap piece when I'm done. Okay, so here's where it starts to get a little more tricky and you'll want to be paying attention to the details in the photos. There's 2 options for the animal that you would like to put in your pop-up jungle. The first option is the tiger, the second option is the lion. If you look in the photo for the tiger head, all you're doing there is drawing the shape of the tiger's head with the pointed ears, the rounded chin, and the forehead in between the ears. But for the lion, off to the side, there's a few extra steps that you need to take for making the lion. If you're making the lion, you're using the scrap piece. The tiger, you do not need to use the scrap piece. So for the lion, you need to cut the scrap piece in half and make a smaller square. that square goes in the center of the square that you need for the lion's head. With that smaller scrap left, okay, so now you have the body, the head, a small square, and a small scrap. You'll take the small scrap and make two small ears, and you glue them in the corner of your smallest square. And then the ears and the square go in the center of the head, the square that's for the head. Here is a picture that shows you the details you can draw for your animal's face. So your choices again were lion or tiger. So the top shows you all the steps and shapes for drawing the lion's face, and then the bottom is the tiger's face. What you want to notice is that the lion's face takes up all the square. The tiger, you have to make sure you draw the shape of the tiger's face inside the square, and then the shapes and lines and details for the face. So here's a look at the lion and the tiger, so you're choosing one or the other, with all the pieces laid out, with the details drawn and the color added. This is what it should look like before you attach everything together. You have the legs, the body, and the face. So for the lion, you're attaching the face to the lion's mane. And take a look at the steps that I used for making the lion's mane. I divided the bigger square into sections, and I added extra lines that have different colors. For the tiger, make sure you have the legs and the body with your stripe details. And then on the face, you want to make sure you cut the face out. So we're actually going to be taking a break from putting together the animal because we have to finish the jungle before we can put the animal inside the jungle. So I wanted to turn back to our artist of the week, Henry Rousseau, to get your mind thinking about what your jungle can look like and paying extra close attention to what those plants look like in particular. Jungles are full of what we call tropical leaves. They're great big green leaves. There's different kinds like palm leaves or ferns. You might even be thinking of vines in the jungle. So I have this picture here for you to kind of glance at and see that there's different shapes and different types of leaves that you might want to think about when you're drawing your jungle. Another thing I want you to think about is that leaves show what we call symmetry. Symmetry means that when you divide a shape in half, each side of that shape is even or equal. So if you look at these leaves, the center line goes down the middle, and on either side of that line, you're looking at the exact same picture, but it's flipped. You're noticing the same shape, the same size, and the same placement. This is showing symmetry. You can use this picture here to pause and look at so that you have a good idea of what kind of leaves you'd like to draw. You can copy these, you can mix and match, or you can make up your own jungle or tropical leaves. I also have this picture here where you could pause and study this one as well. You could use it as you're drawing your jungle. It shows you step by step how to draw symmetrical tropical leaves or vines. You'll see there's the center lines and it's the same on each side. Now that we have a lot of ideas to use, and you can rewind the video at any time and pause on pictures as you're drawing your jungle, we're going to actually create the jungle now. I'm using the biggest piece from the beginning of the project when I folded the paper in half. You'll see at the bottom, all I really did there was I added green lines and patterns. I just wanted it to look kind of interesting and fun. You could color the bottom of that paper just green. This one is a pattern that I drew, and I just wanted it for the ground of my jungle. The top of the folded paper is where you draw all your jungle leaves, and you can see that I made my leaves coming from the top, and then I made big, large blades of grass at the bottom. You mix and match this any way you want. It could look like grass, it could just be leaves. I think the more important part here is that you make sure it's very colorful. So do a good job coloring in, and it would be a really good idea to outline everything that you draw in black marker because then it stands out really well. Now that we have every component or piece to this project completed, it's time to put them all together. The first thing we're going to do is prepare our legs and body for attaching. And to do that, you need to fold the feet and you need to fold the edges of the body piece. The back legs are going to be glued or taped to the scene of your jungle, so the top half of your background, and then the feet are going to be taped or glued to the bottom of your background, the ground. Next, you take the body piece with the folded edges, put your tapered glue on the folded edges, and stick it to the back legs. It should be coming out from the front of the back legs. Then you take the second set of legs and attach them to the front of the body using that folded edge again. The last part is to make sure you put the head. The last step for making your pop-up jungle look finished and complete is adding some pop-up plants. So there's a couple ways you could try this. The first idea, option one, is just to cut a section of your ground off the front. So don't go too close to the animal that's standing now. You want to go in front of it a little bit and cut straight across. Then you use that extra piece from the ground that you colored, and you can cut it into smaller pieces. You can cut a zigzag at the top, and then you fold the bottom and glue it to the ground so that it stands up. Or you could draw more leaves and cut them out and color them. Anything that you add for popping up has to have a folded bottom. So whichever way you decide to add more plants to your pop-up jungle, make sure you fold the bottom part of it so that it stands up. And what I wanted to do was put them in front of my animal so it looks like my animal is hiding behind it. So once you have your background, your animal, and your pop-up plants, your project is complete. Yay! Whew, that project might have had a lot of different pieces to put together, but boy does it look so cool when it's all put together. And maybe it was a little bit tricky in some spots for you, but really remember, the most important thing is to try your best. Now that you know how to make a pop-up animal, maybe you could make an animal in a different scene, like a bunny in a forest or a frog at the pond. How cool would it be for you to have a whole collection of different pop-up scenes? I think that's a pretty cool idea. Well, I'm glad you were here watching this week, listening and participating. And stay tuned. I'll have another project for you to try next week. I'm looking forward to it.